Okay, I'm going to show you how to understitch the underarm or armhole of your Daphne Day dress. So the neckline is quite easy. You turn that inside out, understitch, and that's quite easy. But when you get to your armhole, the shoulders here where they're stitched together prevents you from stitching right up through that shoulder seam. So what you'll do, once you've trimmed and graded your seam and clipped your seam, press the seam allowance towards the facing, which I've already done, and then you'll just start pinning the seam allowance to the facing as far as you can go. Whoops, just pinned myself. And you'll get to the point where you won't be able to pin the facing to the facing anymore. It will start to get bulky and almost impossible to get into there. So at that point, you stop pinning, and then you'll flip over to the other side, do the same thing. So on the other side of the armhole, you start pinning that seam allowance to the facing. And as you're pinning, really pull that facing up so that when you understitch, it's as close to that seam as possible to give it a nice professional finish. So just keep pinning again until you get to the point where you can feel it's too bulky. You're not going to be able to get the machine into that area. And then you will go to your machine and you will stitch as close as possible to that seam line whilst pulling the facing away, and then you'll get to this point where you just cannot stitch any further. Then turn the bodice around, start from the other side, again repeat it, stitch up until you can't stitch any further, and then you will turn the bodice inside out through the shoulder point. So I've already done it on this side. So basically you're just pulling it through, the bodice through the shoulder point, and then this is what it ends up looking like. So you've understitched, you'll press it, you've understitched to this point and to this point, but it gives you a very neat finish on the armhole.